This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service.
Now, a crazy week. It has been nothing short of political, legal and governance whirlwind. Let's talk about Ndindi Nyoro's removal from the powerful Budget and Appropriations Committee, a move that was met with stoic acceptance, but signals also a significant recalibration within the government's framework. Simultaneously, former Premier Raila Odinga's firm dismissal of Ruto must go calls underscores a pivotal moment of political pragmatism, urging a focus on the nation's pressing issues. Meanwhile, the swift and decisive dismissal of Kawira Mwangaza's legal challenge highlights the stark realities of power and process within our governance structures. And as we grapple with the legal complexities of gender identity, the state's position raises fundamental questions about individual rights and societal evolution. And finally, the looming execution of Margaret Nduta in Vietnam casts a long shadow, forcing us to confront the harsh realities of international law and the government's duty to its citizens. To help us unpack these great topics, first guest is in the house. He is an advocate of the High Court, GIBSON Gisore. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. I think the thing is not on.
Oh, no, it's on. It's on.
Oh, okay. Good morning, Nick. It's a pleasure being in studio with you this morning, and I will want to say hi to the good people of Kenya, as Chris Brown has been singing.
Yes, to all the beautiful ones. Yes, indeed. Now, the weather is crazy, so we're not surprised that our second guest, JOYCE WANGUI, human rights advocate, she's on the way. She's not yet here, but traffic is crazy. But she will be here, and she will join us. We shall tell you more about her when she gets to studio. Now, before we get into the conversation, we must mention something very, very crucial. The views and opinions that are expressed by our guests. For today, we have Advocate GIBSON Gisore, and we shall be joined by human rights activists. While we respect their opinions, we have to also acknowledge that they're not necessarily reflect the views and opinions and position of Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. It is very crucial that we put that out there. Okay, we respect your opinions, so we just want to make sure that you also understand that KBC remains committed to providing a platform for diverse perspectives and fostering open dialogue on matters. So we welcome you. Speak freely. Is very
important.
It's very, very important. And she just made it. Joining us in studio, she is a human rights advocate whose phone is on loud. You can just put it on silent real quickly. It's all right. It happens to all of us. She'll put that on silent. She's a human rights advocate and activist with close ties to the loyal opposition leader, and in quotes, and former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka. JOYCE WANGUI, good morning.
Good morning too.
Could you move a little bit closer to that microphone? Thank you. How are you doing? Traffic was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Nakwambia.
So you're blessed with rain here.
May I always say this: the people who should be grateful for this rain, farmers. People who live in the city, Apana. It's crazy. But let's get into conversation. We have so much to start off. Before everything else, the King of Netherlands, Willem-Alexander, is in town with his wife, Queen Maxima, and they met with the president in State House yesterday. Let's play you a clip of some of the highlights.
With a population whose average age is 20, your country is fortunate that it can rely on the ideas and energies of millions of young citizens. The people of Kenya, like those of the Netherlands, want their rights as free citizens to be respected and their voices to be heard. I'm pleased that our country's strong and mature relationship allows us to devote attention during this visit to issues like human rights, good governance and accountability.
Our nations share a strategic partnership dating back to 1964. Over the decades, this relationship has evolved, driven by mutual respect, common aspirations, and a shared vision for a greener, more sustainable, and prosperous future.
There goes President William Ruto speaking yesterday at State House where he welcomed King of Netherlands, Willem-Alexander, and his wife, Queen Maxima. JOYCE, I want to start with you because this is your area. We've heard the two leaders there, but particular emphasis to King Willem's remarks on human rights. In your view, what are the most pressing human rights challenges that are facing Kenya today, and how can we foster this culture of respect for human rights across all sectors of our society, in your view?
abductions.
All right. Right off the bat.
Recently, since June and even before, I think it was before June, but after June 25th demonstrations, we experienced, I am a victim of abduction, first and foremost. So I'm talking on behalf of those who we suffered together. Once you criticize the government, and when you criticize the government is because they did not deliver, they have not delivered whatever they promised. They had a manifesto, but they did not deliver whatever they promised their people. And when we young people, we criticize the government, we get abducted, we are killed. That is, we don't have to, like, and it is forced, like they are sending these guys to come and abduct people illegally, not summoning. So I find abduction is against the human rights. Another human right, I think once, like, there's the issue of identity cards. I think every Kenyan has a right to get identity card free. So charging it 2,000 for replacement, 300 for new applicants, that's against the human rights. Yeah. Among many others, like we still have bodies there, city morgue, unidentified. We have anthropologists who are supposed to go and take DNA, so their families are denied their rights. It's either they get their bodies. We have so much going on in this country which we don't even advocate. Like, we don't even need to, like, we don't even deserve to have that president, but we are just there waiting.
All right.
Yeah.
Gibson, a quick word from you. What do you feel about the significance of King William's visit to the country?
Thank you, Nick. I think it's quite significant. I don't know what exactly we expect out of the trip, but there is something I was just telling you before we got on air, that Kenya has become a darling for kings.
For kings.
We had the King of England, I think, was it last year or last year?
I think it was last year, yeah.
It was last year, earlier or somewhere thereabout. He was here for 4 days. We didn't quite see much he did. He was just having fun. We have Willem now for Netherlands. I mean, I'm surprised he can speak English. I thought he should be promoting Dutch. I was telling somebody, I thought these kings should be true to their language. But I mean, that speaks to the fact that English is now a universal language, and it's respected by other people. So the King of Netherlands has insisted on coming to this country. I don't know whether he's insisted or he's been coerced to come, because he was to come and then the Gen Z revolution happened. That was last year, and he had to postpone the trip. But now he's here. He's here and he's talking human rights. The most important thing is talking human rights, and I think that speaks to the fact that the earlier plan to come was curtailed by the abductions, and the Gen Z who are a bit restless, and he's speaking, even his speech is tailored towards appeasing to the young population. There seems to be something which is said, which I don't know whether our government is actually fully cognizant of, and that is the aspect that Kenya is the median age is 20. The median age being 20, I think that fact is well recognized by everybody or every development partner out there except our government. And that speaks to the fact that how well is our government prepared to be able to usher in this 20-year-old Kenya to the future, and ensuring that this country is well protected in terms of human rights, because human rights goes to the heart and center of development. Hardly have I seen any country which has not embraced an open society, a society which is cognizant of human rights, be able to develop. So it's important that as a country, as these kings come in and we embrace them, it's important that we also respect our people first, and ensure that we can be able to foster development as a people who understand themselves.
Fair enough. Oh, and just before we jump into the next story, just to remind, because you mentioned it, Joyce, and I just remember the president did mention though that there's no more paying for ID cards while he was in Kibra last week. He didn't mention that, right?
Yeah, he did. But was it gazetted? It's just mentioning.
The earlier decision was gazetted. The earlier decision was gazetted. So that is what annuled the gazette.
Okay. All right.
The question.
We continue to watch this space. All right. Now let's jump into Parliament real quick. And Ndindi Nyoro's removal from the powerful Budget and Appropriations Committee in favor of Samuel Atandi is a move that's been met with some stoic acceptance, but it signals deeper undercurrents within the broad-based government framework. Now, this seismic shift in parliamentary leadership, it's raised questions about political realignments as well as strategic governance moves. Let's take a listen to highlights from that right now. Apologies for that, having a little bit of an issue playing this particular clip. However, we can skim through it, and I can tell you that in his statement, he says, Ndindi Nyoro says he holds no grudge. However, he did also mention that he felt like he was not consulted. There's part of him that feels like he was betrayed. Curious, does this reshuffle signal a deeper power play with Parliament? I'll start with you, Gisore, on this one.
You see, politics is a strange game. I was surprised to hear Ndindi Nyoro say to the journalist that the last time he spoke to the president was last year, October. That is quite interesting, just before the patch of removal of a former deputy president. Is being quiet in this whole matter has already been used against him. If I don't know, they expected him to be part of the choir, saying that Rigathi Gachagua needs to go home. He didn't. Now he's paying for it. I think from what he was saying, the politics in Central Region is becoming very volatile. They are trying to play towards Rigathi Gachagua, and anybody who is not aligned to him is not receiving good reception in the mountain as it were. When it comes to national politics, there's a general sense that anybody who was not very clear whose stand is also not known, especially in the Kenya Kwanza coalition. They need to do away with them because they cannot trust them, especially if you are trusted with some very key seats. There comes in the question of Raila Odinga and the framework agreement. We have seen a lot of developments in Parliament. So I think it was an open secret that Ndindi Nyoro, given his silence on key issues of national importance, it was very clear that his head was on the chopping board, and it has eventually come to pass. So I think we will be expecting more developments especially in the House, whereby if somebody's loyalty is not actually ascertained, they are going to be dealt with accordingly, and they will be going to be, so that to create room for these new people from the ODM, because we cannot talk of Kenya Kwanza, it's actually ODM who should be able to come in so that they feel comfortable. Yeah, the new guests who should be given seats. Remember, when guests come into the house, the people who are seated, you have to leave some room for them. So I think that is what is happening, and we will be watching this space to see how that develops.
Before we get your take, Joyce, I managed to fix it up. Let's play you this clip so we can listen to some of the highlights regarding the committee reshuffle.
Something that had never happened since independence. Today, I break the record as the first man from that region to chair Budget and Appropriations Committee. Honorable Speaker, this is a very big milestone. that first of all, I would like to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya for ensuring that he acts whatever he says. And when the President said that he wants to unite the country, because this is the real evidence that the President is really uniting the country.
We must be there to stand as long as what you do is fair, objective and transparent. Criticisms will be there. That's why you're a politician.
They always say if you want to kill a dog, give it a bad name. We have seen it happening before the committee was disbanded and even now.
What I believe myself is that I am the sum total of all my experiences, bad and good. And if I want to remove any bad experience from my CV as a human being, then I am deserting to be who I am. No one in the leadership of our coalition, from whichever position, has ever called me in regards to what I need to do better, what I need to change, things that needed to be done in a different manner. It's very good for me to put it into record.
All right, so Joyce, what's your take on this recent reshuffling of the committee?
It's without prejudice. Both leaders are in agreement to consolidate power for themselves. And this is so unfortunate for Kenyans, since the country will continue towards the downtrend and they will not achieve any development so far. It's all about them. It's all about, like, I was against the AUC thing, since the senior leader who was supposed to come and join the Gen Zs in the streets, went ahead to betray them for him to get the senior most seat, AUC. And we thank God, he took advantage of the Gen Z's bloodshed to get into power, which God himself denied him a chance to get the seat. Now here they are. We all know Ndindi Nyoro. We know the way he's fought for this government. He was very loyal. He is the person who brought us this conmanship of leadership and governance. He's part of it. He's part of whatever we are going through today. And now himself, he has been kicked out because of, like now, there's a time Gachagua said the president is in ICU today. Raila is his machine. If he switch off that machine, he's as good as dead. So, do you expect any development? No. It's all about them. It's all about Raila getting more seats. And I wish he utilizes the chance he have to impeach the president from inside. I think he can paint a different picture of what we have for him today. So Kenyans will continue to suffer. The 2 years. 2 years are it's a little bit longer time in politics. And whatever is happening today, if that's what we expect, even nothing. As much as the 2 years, we have got nothing. What else do we expect? In the two sides, power, and Raila getting more seats. It's all about themselves, Tumbocrats.
Now, like we mentioned earlier on at the beginning of the conversation, we are all for freedom of expression. So your views and opinions that you express here are completely welcome. We here at KBC, as much as they might not reflect our views, but we do respect you and your take on things. A listener has asked, though, because talking about Raila, like this listener said, but he wasn't a Gen Z. He wasn't elected by the people. Did he have any responsibility to them in the wake of the protests? What do you say to that?
I think we've seen him in Mandamanos previously, without the Gen Zs. In the name of fighting for Kenyans, in the name of fighting for good governance. But when the Gen Zs now, because they are powerful. As we speak, even today, the Gen Z's movement is there. Instead of now uniting, since they are speaking the same voice, he went ahead. He went ahead to betray them, and whatever he was saying, he thought he was fighting. He told us that he showed us he was fighting for became meaningless to him. He went ahead to consolidate with Ruto, to dine with him, after all what of that happened, his time in Mandamano, we didn't see bloodshed. Raila went ahead in swearing in himself. We didn't see any bloodshed. But this whatever happened June 25th, and that is why I thank His Excellency, to me, the people's President 2027, Kalonzo Musyoka. He keeps on declaring it as public holiday, June 25th. Whatever happened was historic. At least the least Raila being in opposition could have done is come and support the Gen Zs, so that we'll see if at least we'll end this conmanship. Yeah.
And we're going to get back to talking on Raila in just a minute, but first I want to throw this one to Gisore. A listener asked, how much influence does the executive have in shaping parliamentary committee leadership, or is this purely a party decision?
There is so much influence. I think it's an open secret that the executive is in control of the parliament. Actually, some other quarters people have assumed that parliament does not exist, is being run by the executive, and that's why people are really crying and trying to push that let the judiciary be as independent as it can be, because that's the only arm which you can be able to rely on. The government, we have seen it a couple of times. Anything government or the executive wants, parliament has been able to approve without even looking at the document. They actually even say we will pass it without even questioning the comma, wherever it is. So that puts us as a country in a very precarious situation. And to answer his question, that the executive has emasculated the parliament, and parliament does not seem to have control of its affairs. It's being run. Recently there was a decision in court that the Speaker of Parliament never resigned actually from his political seat, and he cannot be considered to be neutral because his party is part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, which is, so that explains it. I think that explains it, that when you have the Speaker sitting, who is supposed to be a neutral person, to be able to make decisions in favor of Kenyans, or decisions which are fair and just, being part of the ruling coalition, that tells you that in essence it's the executive which is controlling the parliament, and you cannot expect much from that particular kind of leadership. The most important thing is to ensure that we have fair and balanced leadership, which can be able to speak to the needs of Kenyans.
Indeed. All right, now let's go back to talking about Raila Odinga. The political landscape remains charged with former Premier Raila Odinga pushing back against calls to remove President William Ruto. Now, in a time of economic uncertainty and governance challenge, does Kenya need a political reset, or should energies just be focused elsewhere? Let's listen to some of the highlights from Raila Odinga. This was over the weekend.
Democracy is a project. It's not an instant coffee that you brew and drink at the same time. What is important that Kenya remains together. Zamani ilikuwa ukisema tu ngwe ndani. Kati ile ambaye simba alikuwa na meno na makucha. Yo simba tulingoa meno, hata makucha tukakata. Nasema Ruto aende. Aende rafu nani ifanyike. Wa Kenya wako na shida mpaka shida yatatuliwe sasa. Sio siku nyingine. Hatuwezi kupiga siasa miaka mitano yote mfululizo. Nchi haiwezi kuendelea mbele. Kenyans need to live between now and 2027.
That's Raila Odinga speaking over the weekend. Joyce, I'm going back to you. Raila Odinga's call for focusing on national issues rather than calls for removal resonates with some people. But from a human rights perspective, how do you see this approach impacting the pursuit of social justice and accountability in this country?
Wow.
Whoa. The gloves are off, clearly.
Well, it's getting tougher. Tough times ahead. Yeah. It was hard. It was hard to believe he could say so. Raila and Ruto and wapi. That was tough. When we are fighting, at least he could have something to show for it. He should have something to show, that to at least to come and explain to Kenyans, the reason why I did this is because now we have achieved this. But instead, we can see all Gachagua allies being removed from these seats, and his confidence take over. It's all about themselves. It's all about himself getting into power. But one thing I would like to ask, if Ruto really loves the so-called Raila, let him declare he will not be vying in 2027 to support Raila. That will be impossible. So what do we expect in 2 years' time?
Wow. Okay. All right. That's word from Joyce. That's word from Joyce Gisore. Beyond the political rhetoric, okay. Maybe remind us about some practical legal tools that the opposition have to challenge governance failures without having to resort to remove this person.
I think the most important thing. Let's start with the recent framework agreement. I do not understand what space that framework agreement has in our kind of constitution. So we need to first look into that and be able to see how do we end up having an opposition party joining up with a ruling coalition to be able to pursue the agenda of Kenya. What kind of arrangement is that? I do not understand it. So that is the first thing. The second thing, the ruling or the judgment which was given in respect to what I've said earlier, that the speaker is not a neutral person. That in itself shows that there is already lack of good governance in the parliament itself. So that also has got to be, the opposition needs to come in and speak to that. I do not understand from what perspective, when you have been told that you are the majority in parliament, instead of taking all your seats, you decide to get into a framework agreement and then share some seats, get half a cake instead of getting the whole of it. So that in itself, of course, gives rise to an aspect of compromises towards good governance, compromises towards us accepting that we need to be governed by the rule of law. So that in itself paints or taints the whole aspect of the framework agreement and any other arrangement, like the previous one where we have opposition people being in government, being in executive as ministers. That also points to the nature of how we do not respect our constitution as Kenyans. There is that free will, but the free will seems to be more robust in the upper echelons. By upper echelons means in the political animals. The bigger political animals seem to be enjoying more in terms of political goodwill as opposed to the needs of the Kenyans. Mm-hmm. What this gives rise to is the aspect that whatever decision that is being made or discussed in the parliament or in the executive, which are the major arms of which govern Kenya, ends up affecting Mwananchi, and that leaves only one arm of government, which is also so limited, which can be emasculated, that is the judiciary, to be the only vanguard to protect the rights of Kenyans. But there is only so much that the judiciary can do in this context. Mm-hmm. So when these two big arms of government decide to coalesce towards things which do not help Mwananchi, then Mwananchi is left alone.
All right.
Yeah. To add to that, we saw them agreeing on the NADCO report. And now that Ruto and Raila is in, they have changed even some of these things in NADCO report. Like, where is one man, one vote, 1 shilling? They don't even talk about it. They don't. All they do is about their seats. Who to get who to get what? Huh?
All right.
At least, whatever is going, that's why we said we expect zero development, even as time goes by, because there is absolutely now I know they're almost this bill that will be will be tabled in Parliament, the 7 years term. If these MPs and Senates bring it to us, like the finance bill, I vote yes. This time round, things will not be business as usual. They must bring it to us as the referendum to Yangushe kwa debe.
It is a big conversation. Her name is JOYCE WANGUI, a human rights advocate. Also joining us in studio is Advocate of the High Court, GIBSON GISORE. We have about 20 minutes left, guys, and we have 3 other topics I want us to touch on real quick. Governor Kawira Mwangaza tried to block her removal but failed to secure court orders in time. Listen to these highlights, starting with the newly sworn in governor for Meru, Reverend Isaac Mutuma.
I declare today that the political grandstanding has come to an instant end. I commit to work with each one of you. I will operate an open door policy where each one of you is welcome.
Awachane na maneno ya koti, aende nyumbani apumzike, alipatiwa nafasi. Sasa leo ndio tunaanza safari. Na tukianza safari leo, ujue tumechelewa na miaka 2.5. Kila mtu sasa arudi kwa ofisi yake. Mimi narudi Senate kuendelea na kazi yangu.
There are a lot of frustrated hopes and dreams of Meru. We wanted to make Meru great. Sasa tumekuja kuokolewa na mtu wa Mungu.
A man of God is now at the helm over in Meru. Gisore, the attempts to appeal this in record time by Kawira Mwangaza didn't work. Now, where do you think the process broke down? Was there some political expedience over the legal process? Or what's your take on that?
I do not think that there was any political interference in terms of trying to secure some conservatory orders at the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal takes time and has procedures. So I knew at the moment when the High Court, Justice Mwamuye, decided that he had to agree with the Senate after postponing. Remember, she has been in office after being impeached, I think, for over 6 months.
Over 6 months.
Over 6 months. That's quite something. So it means that she has been able to get enough time, grace period, to put her house in order. So it was something I anticipated because I've been following that case keenly. And every other time there is an extended conservation of the orders which had been issued by the same judge who vacated them, I felt like the people of Meru were losing out because you remember she has not been impeached once, twice. Mm-hmm. It's twice. That speaks to something, that the people are not happy. And keeping such a person in office while there is every clear indication that she has been adjudged to be incompetent to be in office, then the court was trying to also extend so much grace to her, and the grace does come to an end. Even if it's with God, there's a point where God says enough is enough. Chickens have to come home to roost at some point. So her going to the Court of Appeal has already given an inter partes on Wednesday. I think it's today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the inter partes is today, which of course which is already overtaken by events, because now she cannot come back to office because somebody is already legally in office. Mm-hmm. So the only other thing she can be able to claim is whatever is she can claim some damages or some other monies which she can be paid in exchange for her to be actually out of office. So for her, I think she knows that comfortably she's out of the seat. Whatever fight she's trying to put up is a fight in futility, is a fight to maybe safeguard some little benefits, but as to the substantive office, that is gone and gone forever. Mm-hmm. She should be able to plan for the next, which I think she has, because I saw the husband say that they are going to form a party. Wish them all the best. Mm-hmm. But let me speak to this thing. There is an aspect, if you saw the kind of people who attended the swearing in of Mutuma, the new governor, Reverend, mm-hmm. There is an aspect that you saw all the political, present and former, leaders of Meru seated there and all of them ululating. There is an aspect that could all these people have been against Kawira Mwangaza for some reason. What is it that there seemed to be very, very bad blood? But the people on the ground, I don't know whether they really want Kawira out, because remember she was voted in as an independent candidate, not even with a party. So that speaks to the aspect of what we can talk about in the national scale, that the kind of political camaraderie we are seeing could not actually be reflecting what the people of Meru who could actually be wishing and want.
Joyce, let's look at the societal impacts of such political instability when you look at the people of Meru, like when looking at provision of essential services, human rights protections. What's a state? What do you feel like the state of the citizens of Meru is right now, given everything that's happened?
One thing I would like to say is that the fight for good governance must not be derailed by sideshows.
Okay.
And it's the mandate to all elected leaders to strive and package their manifesto to those who elected them. But in Kawira's case, sideshows overshadowed her. And people, Marians, these
Marians, okay, let's go with
Marians were able to take to accommodate all that shit that happened. We saw first her husband, all these sideshows, and she refused to unite with the MCAs, with the other leaders who are under her. So these are the repercussions of the sideshows, according to me.
According to
she
Joyce,
deserves what has come our way.
She was destined to fail from the word go. We saw that coming.
Well, it has happened, and now we wait to see what the next chess move she will make will be. Now, we have two very controversial things to talk about. This one, there's a crucial debate emerging in Kenya's legal framework. Can an individual legally change their sex status in adulthood? So, Gisore, the state, through the Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, indicated it's not possible. So, what are the current legal frameworks that govern this issue, and what are the potential legal challenges for this stance, particularly concerning fundamental human rights?
That is an interesting topic and interesting question, Nick. You remember we have had previously cases of people who have come on press. Previously, they claim to have, I don't remember their names clearly, that's been a while, but I remember an incident where one gentleman went to court, wanted to change his sex.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yes. So, the current direction or advice by the AG seems to speak to the fact that cannot be possible. That cannot be possible. If somebody is an intersex, and the intersex will always keep changing as time goes by, you might start up as a boy, then you end up inheriting the feminine qualities. Do you still remain that? Because your physical features could not be speaking to that. So that, of course, brings in a lot of confusion. I think we need to actually sit back and be able to legally debate this. The advice by the AG needs to be relooked into, because human rights are issues which are developmental in nature. So if you can be able to make a conclusive decision that we will not be going this way while the place is actively being developed, that gives rise to serious questions as to what is the point of our advice. What exactly is the AG trying to speak to while there are life cases? So that in itself is one. I think the other question which you should be able to talk about is what the debate is in the US, whereby young kids can be able to decide that now I want to do a surgery, and then I'm called Gibson today, I want to be called Georgina tomorrow. and I need an 8-hour surgery to ensure that happens. So that in itself, of course, somebody has got to be age of majority or receive the advice of the parents to the same effect. So I think that is the debate which you can be able to regulate, because that's a bit clear, because that's an independent. But when we are talking about intersex, I think we need to be a bit clear, because this is not their choice, and this is a developing institution. Okay. You cannot be able to sit on their right or confine them to a body which they have since mutated from. That in itself, we need to give some leg room to be able to allow that we don't end up tampering with the rights of these people, as it were.
Interesting perspective. I like that. Joyce, let's comparing Kenya's stance on gender recognition versus the world and global trends from a human rights perspective. How are we faring there? Are we lost?
At some point.
At some point.
Yes. I don't think that one should be even listed in a listing of parties which should even be as proof of anything. Like, at some point, I don't even know what I'll take this or I'll say this. I think it's a freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice.
Today I'm Joyce. If I'd like to change to Ben, it's my choice.
It's your choice. You feel that Kenyans are, but you know,
should be like my dress, my choice.
No, I don't even know what
today I'm in trousers, tomorrow I should wear a skirt, and that's my choice. I think that would be too much liberal.
But now, because you said that, Gisore, do you feel that it's too liberal because we're too conservative as a nation? Because they do this in other countries, even in South Africa.
You see, South Africa is called as a rainbow nation. It's one of the countries which has accepted the LGBTQ because of the nature. Because a great percentage of the people, the ruling class or the people, the bourgeoisie, if I can be able to call that, is actually South Africa. If you go to the top leading 5 universities, you look at the management and even where they are centered, they're actually centered in the places where they are controlled by the white people, as opposed to the other lesser known universities, the Vendas, the Zululands. Those ones are now the indigenous ones, where the indigenous actually go to school. You have to really have merited to get to Cape Town and the like. So you cannot compare ourselves to that kind of setup. And South Africa's development has also had its issues. So as Kenya, let's come up with an homegrown decision. There are things which we cannot be able to jump into just because other people have. As a society, we need to, that's what I was saying, that as a society, we need to sit back and be able to discuss some of these issues. In the light of what we have seen previously in terms of case law, where people have gone to court to actually assert their gender, that means court has been able to rule in favor of their decision. So if you say that they cannot be able to do that as adults, then that gives rise to the question, at what point should they be able to do that? Because that's the time they have fully understood themselves and they can be able to have consent. They have the freedom of consent. So that can be allowed given the perspective in that particular case. But the situation whereby somebody wants to do a surgery, deliberate one, that now you are Nick, tomorrow you want to be called Nicole, and this you want it through a surgery to transform that we need to limit, I think, because that now become very artificial in nature, and it cannot be equated to my dress, my choice discussion, whereby you say today I want to wear this, nobody should be able to ask me. That we need to have some guidelines, and those guidelines need to be in place before the AG actually comes about with the advisory she's giving. We need to be able to come up with a policy, a clear policy. What the AG should be actually telling us, we are sitting down, we're inviting legal minds, we're inviting public participation, because that's what the Constitution speaks to discuss all these issues so that we have a clear framework, what the do's are and what the don'ts are. But giving a blanket decision, I think, cannot cut it.
Let's give you 1 minute on this one, Joyce, to rebuttal that.
I think I'll add to his points, that whatever now the Attorney General is supposed to do is to know how to balance between the law and fundamental human rights. Yeah, because it's a fundamental duty of the state and every state organ to observe, protect, and respect. Is it true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And promote and fulfill the rights and fundamentals, freedoms. So that's why I say that at least they should balance.
All right.
Yeah.
8 minutes to 9 o'clock. Final thing that we have to talk about real quick, as we mentioned in our opening remarks, the stayed execution of Margaret Nduta in Vietnam on Monday through legal injection has cast a long shadow. It's forcing us to confront the harsh realities of international law and the government's duty to its citizens abroad. What I said when I was doing the newspaper review earlier on the show, and I just said, but you know what? At the end of the day, she committed a crime. So this is what I'm going to throw to you, Gisore. Legally speaking, does Kenya have any standing to challenge another country's judicial decisions? Especially, this is a capital case. And on that note, are there even international legal frameworks for appealing such cases? Has there ever been?
Legally, yes, there is always a legal solution to every problem. That I will want to put out there, that yes, there can be a way out. But as you have said, she committed a crime, which has been successfully prosecuted and sentenced. So it means the court in Vietnam has been able to apply its mind to the evidence and actually realize that this Kenyan, Nduta, actually has been found guilty of the crime she was charged with. Having said that, now, does she have a recourse? I will want to believe that she has a recourse. If she didn't have a recourse, by now she could have been long dead, because I think the execution ought to have been done
2 days ago.
2 days ago. That has not happened. The I don't know, the Kenyan government and even through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I think, have prevailed upon the leadership of the Vietnam country that can you kindly stay that we be able to negotiate. Under international framework or international law, you can actually be able to do what is called exchange of prisoners.
That's an actual thing.
Yes, you can actually get into an agreement. There's a framework agreement for exchange of prisoners. I think we have it with the UK. We have it with some. We haven't signed so many of those, but under that context, now that we have not signed one with Vietnam, maybe that is what can be able to be delayed, and then that be negotiated and signed. She can be able to buy off some precious time, because now what she's having is actually precious time. Once that has been negotiated properly and signed, then the Vietnamese people can be able to do extradition of Nduta to Kenya to come and face the same charges. The pretext is to come and face the law according to the Kenyan law for the crime. But in the Kenyan law, yes, of course, we still have death sentence. We haven't since moved from the death sentence.
Yeah.
That can be able to be upheld or by the courts in Kenya, and then she will be able to serve time in a Kenyan prison, which of course eventually the death sentence is commuted to life sentence. So, but normally in international cases, especially in the expatriation of criminals, what normally happens, once this process is done and then Nduta arrives at JKIA, she becomes a national hero. And she's told she gets her freedom. So that is the other aspect of the Vietnamese country will be looking at. This one, even if we release this one, she's still going to have an olive branch once she arrives in our own country. So there's that perspective. That's where the aspect of the framework agreement, which has to be put in place for extradition of criminals or exchange of prisoners, has got to also be able to anticipate such situations. Essentially, how do you recompense these people for this particular? The aspect is that you bring us our criminals who are in your prisons, and then we also expatriate our prisoners from this. But it being a capital offense, and those countries do actually kill people, is a situation which we will wish that the Kenyan government can be able to get hold of the situation earlier enough and be able to negotiate way out, because we don't want a Kenyan to lose a life in a foreign land. Mm-hmm. But previously it has happened. I think in Indonesia is one of the countries which has very strict laws, and I remember one time a while back when Joko Widodo, the current president, I don't know, president or premier, who took power, and the Australian Prime Minister was on call trying to plead for clemency. Mm-hmm. I think two of the citizens of Australia who were actually were about to be executed. As he was on call with the president, the execution was actually happening on live TV, and that explains that sometimes you can do all that which you can, but depends on what kind of diplomatic arrangements do you have. Now it boils down to that.
Joyce, I'll let you have the final word. This case has sparked so much debate in Kenya's facing capital punishment abroad. Do you feel that the government should do more to protect its citizens, or do those people bear the full responsibility of their actions, considering that these are happening abroad, beyond our borders? What do you say?
As it stands now, I know there's no official confirmation from either Kenyan or Vietnam's authorities on whether the execution needed to proceed or was delayed. And I think Kenyans have done the, at least Kenyan authorities played their part. And there's supposed to be conflict. Claims mentioned is possible postponement to June, leading to uncertainty. So we are not even sure. Let's wait. Otherwise, as for us, it's good. At least Kenyans have already stood up to fight for their own. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. JOYCE WANGUI, human rights advocate, thank you so much for coming in. GIBSON GISORE, advocate of the High Court as well. Thank you for sharing your 2 cents, guys. Your views, thank you for expressing them in all honesty. And let's hope that we do this again sometime soon.
Thank you so much.
This is The Big Conversation on The Breakfast Show here on KBC English Service.